Investors continue to reprice risk in overnight trading following the de-escalation of tensions in the Middle East over the weekend. And the rally that we saw earlier in the week that lifted all share markets changed as investors started to take a more nuanced approach to the outbreak of peace. And in particular, we saw investors moving back towards the themes that had driven markets previously, favouring tech stocks and those with crypto exposures. And we saw very good support for semiconductors in overnight trading, as well as those internet platforms that are so well known to investors. And so that support led to an unusual situation last night. The Dow Jones Industrial Average actually fell slightly, but the NASDAQ 100 was up. And that reflects the NASDAQ's heavy weighting towards those tech shares. And here you can see the chart and the all-time high that the NASDAQ 100 hit in trading overnight. Now, this is a 5-year chart just to give some perspective on how important those gains are. Then it's a reminder that despite all of the risks we're concerned about, whether it's trade disruption, the potential for physical wars, the potential for recession, despite all of those risks which are on the market radar, we've still got the NASDAQ 100 hitting an all-time high. And so stock selection has never been more important when we're getting such a varied response in markets. Now, that support for tech stocks meant that we also saw some very good support for individual stocks that are well known. And in fact, Nvidia retained its title. As we go ahead here, you can see it also hit an all-time high in trading overnight. Once again, we've got a longer-term chart here just to show the true positioning of Nvidia and how its popularity and its exposure to AI through its specialist chips has meant that it is leading the world. And this is the world's most valuable company now as it heads higher on the strength and the investor interest in heading back into growth. So it's been quite a run. Turning to the action today, we do note the Hang Seng has also broken through and looks like it has real potential. The Hang Seng is one of the few major global indices that actually has a strong valuation argument around it. There's potential for the Hang Seng to continue to outperform as it catches up in terms of valuation with other major indices. Today in Australia, we are expecting to see pressure at the open. Futures fell in overnight trading. We could see a drop of around 0.5% in the main 200 index at the open this morning. And that will probably be reflected in pressure on CBA. Australia's largest stock hit another all-time high in trading yesterday, touching $192 and looking very much like at some stage in the relatively near future, we'll see a test of that $200 per share mark for CBA. However, in the short term, we could see pressure on it given that all-time high and the switch around that we saw in trading overnight. Virgin also had a good day yesterday, adding another 3% plus gain to the 11% gain that we saw the previous day. And it does look like investors in Virgin have done very well based on the first 2 days of very positive trading. We'll also be watching DroneShield very closely today. Another top performer yesterday, up more than 20% on news that it struck a deal with a European buyer of military hardware. And that's very important, particularly given the headlines around NATO increasing its spending on defence armaments. And DroneShield, a major beneficiary there, and potential for further gains as it draws attention around the globe.